Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I am your host, Kevin L. Powers. I'm also the owner, operator of Something Wicked Entertainment and Events, and welcome to our podcast, in which this is a very special month in which we are highlighting specific franchises each week by kind of doing an episode of each movie within that franchise, which is something I've never heard of anyone else doing or has ever been crazy about ever doing, because that releases a lot of episodes in a single day. But we hope that you'll take the time to listen to each of them so you can have a better observation on some of these movies, whether you've seen the first film or second film of the franchise and none of the sequels, which is what occasionally happens, or if you've seen all the films and you've just really blocked them out of your mind because of some of them were so bad. We hope that this month, during our franchise month, that you'll be able to take a look at some of these movies and evaluate them anew. We're going to go through and do a lot of movies, and we hope that you listen to them. And to start off or to continue with one of the franchises that we are highlighting, I have the amazing Jim Adams on the show today. Thank you,
amazing.
Jim. And we are talking about the sequel, Poltergeist 2, The Other Side.
Oh, it's The Other Side. All right. Yeah.
This is a much different film than the first film, but despite being a continuation, because in the 80s, they were really much about continuing
the story. This is supposed to take place a year later.
Yeah, continuing the story and not coming up with new tangents like remakes, reboots, legacy sequels.
Yet they basically did that in this movie. But anyway, we'll get into that.
But if you've been listening to some of the other podcasts, you'll have heard us talk about Poltergeist. Maybe even listen to our Poltergeist 3 episode before listening to this one.
Hopefully not.
We are now hitting the other side.
The other side, yeah, we really are. Yeah.
So the one thing I will have to tell everybody that almost the entire cast returns except for the oldest daughter.
Right, Dominique Dunn, yeah.
Dominique Dunn, because she passed away. One of those many different curses blamed on the Poltergeist franchise. Yeah. But pretty much all the entire original family members returned for this film. But it's a very different film than the first film.
Yes, it is.
Like to know, Jim, what were your impressions of this? When did you see it? What were your impressions of this film?
Okay, buckle up. No, I'm just kidding. And it's funny. I'm a guy that growing up, when they started doing sequels, I was always there. Mm-hmm. I was always right there for the sequels.
Same here.
A lot of times I was very disappointed with the sequels. Now, the Godfather one did not disappoint me. That one was actually pretty good. This one is a head scratcher. I'm gonna try to be nice. Brian Gibson, who was brought in to direct this one, for a script written by Michael Grace and Mark Victor. All I can say is, Michael and Mark, what were you thinking? I'm not going to say this is a bad movie. I would never say don't see this movie. Watch this movie. I had not seen this film in probably almost 30 years. When you put it on your list and said, hey, okay, you want to do the Poltergeist one? So I said, okay, all right, I'll do it. I'll go dig it out and watch it again. And then I remembered why I didn't watch it for the last 30 years. There's just so much that doesn't work in this movie. It's just a disappointment. But it made money. Mm-hmm. So it didn't make as much as the first one. But, $75 million when they released it on a $19 million budget. So somebody was happy. They made money on this one, but there's just, I can't put my finger on one thing, but it's just one of those situations where it wasn't really made badly, but I just think the story was bad. I think that was my biggest issue with it.
I'm going to agree with that a little bit. When I was growing up, I saw the first and second film probably relatively very soon after each other. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing either one of these two at the time they were released. For some reason, I just remember seeing them both at the same time at some point.
Right. This came out 4 years after the
Mhm.
original was released.
But I saw the first one a lot when I was a kid, as opposed to this one, which I did not watch. I know why too. My parents and we had a recorded version of the first film, but I never
Hmm.
had a recorded version of the second film. And
Oh, okay.
but it never really dawned on me to ever get a recording of the second film because I never had the impression that it was a great movie, even as a kid.
Wow. Yeah.
The first film, like I told you, and if you listen to the previous podcast on Poltergeist, the first one, you know there was moments of it that scared me. I was like, "Oh, this is great." But with this
Absolutely. Yeah.
film, there was nothing that actually scared me in this film.
No, there really isn't anything there to do that. Yeah.
And
I'm not, that's what I was saying. I'm not really sure what the writers were trying to
they
bring
were
us on this one.
so the thing about this film is they want to make the father a vulnerable character in this film, whereas in the first
Yes.
film
Yes.
he was an everyday type of character. In the second film, he drinks, he doesn't have a job, and one of the things that gets him is the fact that he gets possessed by Cain as he's drinking a bottle of tequila, and
Right.
and it's stuff like that it doesn't endear you to his character that much until the very end when they come together as a family to be able to save
Yeah.
family.
Yeah. Maybe that's it. He's not real likable. I mean, last time we saw Steve Freeling, um,
It's very
their
likable.
house had just been swallowed up by the earth. They jumped in the station wagon, went to the Holiday Inn. They all went into the holiday room, and then also the door flew open, and the TV came flying out, and then they slammed the door shut. But you still thought, okay, things could be all right, But now we see this opening up, and it's very depressing.
It is
They're
because
broke. They're
Mhm.
living with her mother, and
He doesn't have a job.
obviously he hasn't been working.
Mhm.
He's let his hair grown out long, and you know, I don't know what he was doing. He was fixing stuff up like a
Not very
fix-up
well.
man. Yeah, not well at all. He was sort. I remember the old Andy Griffith show with Emmett's Fix-It Shop. He reminded me of that. Where Emmett, would try to fix things for people and then pull out the hammer and start pounding on them because he couldn't get them to work. It was almost, there was a couple of gags in there about him fixing a vacuum cleaner that went haywire and stuff. Um, so things were not going well. And I kept thinking, how are these people even surviving? I mean, are they totally living off her mother or what? I mean,
Well, you
it's
also
pretty depressing.
it is, but it also and I think because the first film was such a female driven, I hate to say the word estrogen driven, but because it's the mother and daughter,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, the Tangina,
Gangina, yeah.
and you even have the female lead paranormal investigator. In this film, Tangina has been replaced by the Native American shaman, and then the
She
wife,
makes an appearance, but very briefly.
she makes a very brief appearance, but then I realized rewatching it that she completely disappears at the very end.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
She just disappears. It was so odd. I didn't realize that until I was rewatching. Like she doesn't leave the hole in the yard where the pool was. She just
Some of the speculation is that our lead villain in this, or the one
came.
playing the Beast, Kane, who's played by a guy who you may not know that well. Julian Beck is his name. He was known more for his theater work. He and his wife had founded the Living Theater, which is actually still going on. It was a New York-based improv, avant-garde type theater that I think now is stationed out west. I don't know if it's in L.A. but it's not out of New York. They moved out of New York. He had just started hitting it a little bit in the film industry and died of stomach cancer right at the tail end of the production of this film. And they thought that might have affected how they seem to have made a lot of cuts and sped up the ending of this movie at the end. And Zelda Rubinstein, who played Tangina, was always very vocal about being very upset about saying some of her best work had been cut out of the
Oh,
movie. At the very end, there was supposed to be a couple of confrontational scenes or something or whatever, but I didn't realize that until just recently when I started doing research on this movie. That yeah, it does feel a little rushed at the end.
Oh,
So
it most definitely feels rushed. From the moment they enter into the pit to the end of the movie is like 10 minutes long.
yes,
I,
exactly.
I was
And plus you've got the daughter. You know, the older daughter was supposed to. They were supposed to do a scene with her, a quick scene. Dominique Dunn was actually, you know, her character was written into this as being away at college while this film was taking place. But then it goes. Everyone knows the story about Dominique Dunn, who was murdered brutally by her boyfriend right after the original Poltergeist got released. And instead of recasting her, they didn't want to do that, and they didn't explain where she went. I mean, she just doesn't exist in this movie. I thought that was probably not a wise thing to do. I know they were trying to spare the family from going through that because it had only been a couple of years since she died. But watching this movie for the first time that I saw it, it was like I couldn't get that out of my mind. Hey, you had an older daughter. Where is she? You know, they don't even mention her. I mean, it's like she just doesn't exist. And it almost made it worse, I think. Just come up with a better way of getting rid of the gal. You know, I mean, you know.
well,
But I mean, that's a little thing compared to some of the problems this movie has.
it does. Taylor. It starts off with Taylor.
Yeah.
He goes to his place in the Valley of Mountains to go commune with the spirits, who gives them the what's it called, the lance that he'll use at the very end.
Oh yes, yes.
It didn't dawn on me until the rewatch, is I'm wondering why he's ever brought in to begin with. I know Tangina.
Well, okay. This is where the story gets very screwy because they do change some stuff. And by the way, Taylor is played by Will Sampson, who great actor.
Yes.
And you know, fresh off of you know a few years earlier, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and then in other films he showed up in a bunch of films after that. He was really Will was on a real hot streak during this time period, so good casting choice. But we know that the house from the last film, the house gets sucked into the ground, literally, and now all of a sudden, what we've got is the big hole there, but it's now a cave that supposedly something happened in that Tangina, our Zelda Rubinstein character, is involved with this archaeological excavation that's going on there on the site where the house used to be. And he's a part of that. He's connected with her.
Yes.
She's bringing him in, sort of like she was brought in the first movie. But the thing they don't really realize is like, okay, wait a minute. When the house got sucked into the ground, that was because there was a graveyard there. Well, now it's not a graveyard. It's this cave that had a bunch of dead people in it from this cult that this guy had, this cult going on. This is our Kane character played by Julian Beck. And now that's causing all kinds of problems. And Taylor has been called in to help protect the family from these spirits, which apparently have followed the family now to Arizona, where the mother lives. And we find out the mother is psychic.
You find out that all of the members,
and that Heather is, Heather O'Rourke's character, Carol Ann, has got the gift, and so does the mother, who doesn't realize that until her mother says, "Oh yeah, you got it too," you know. Things that we didn't realize from we knew that there was something that was drawing the spirits to Carol Ann in the first movie. But we never, they're really now making this is a Carol Ann movie.
Yeah, it is.
This is all centered around, I mean, even though the first one, her disappearance, it was centered around her disappearance, but this one is centered around her. Because she can sense these people, and apparently the mother can too.
Well, yeah. Well, Kane had, and this is the other thing I didn't like about the movie rewatching it. Kane, especially when the mother meets him at the shopping center.
Yeah.
He has a physical presence that she can see and touch. Uh, but then he is he a spirit? Is he a demon? What exactly is he? Because they kind of hint at both of those.
Yeah, they have people walking through him.
They have
Literally,
people,
I mean, folks, literally walking through him.
yeah.
And it's like, okay, guys, make up your minds. What is this guy?
But he has a physical presence when he shows up at their house. Because
and then for a while there, I thought, okay, is he the devil? Is he supposed to be that, or is it just simply this cult leader or whatever? I mean, you really don't know.
no, you don't.
I mean, you know, the Jim Jones thing had happened a few years before this movie was written, and the writers admitted they were influenced by the whole Jim Jones guy had a tragedy story. So I mean, you have this guy from the 19th century with all these people, and then they work into the fact that he's an end of the world type guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he takes these people into this cave to prepare for the end of the world, which doesn't come, but he doesn't let anyone leave, you know, and keeps them in the cave, and they all die there. So these are pissed off spirits. They do not, you know, and then somehow the Freelings show up, and not only have they built their house on a cemetery, but on these people too. And by God, we're going to get them back. I don't know. I mean, it's just like, okay, guys, I'm lost here. You know,
Well,
I don't mean to be super critical, folks. You know, and those of you that know me know I don't normally do this with movies, but I was honestly shaking my head, going, "Okay, guys, I don't get it. This is not making any sense to me at all."
when I was younger, it didn't dawn on me all the aspects of the first film, and that made its way in the second film, and then how the second film likes to rewrite some of the story to fit a whole new thing.
Virtually all of it, yeah.
Because you think that now they've said, "Oh, we have a franchise. Oh,
Yeah.
we need to expand on this. It just can't be a bunch of they just built their house on the graveyard, and that's what's causing the poltergeist. We have to have something a lot more. We have to have psychic."
Yeah, now we got this cult that was in this cave that,
and we have to have Native American shamanism and spiritualism. And then we have to make these characters vulnerable. Like
he is. Yeah. Steve is very, very vulnerable there. Yeah. Taylor takes him under his wing to try to protect him and show him how to fight this thing.
Well, yeah, and replenish his energy after his so-called battle with his Steven's power has been drained, and so Taylor takes him to a
right.
And the funny thing about their relationship is that it's a very comical relationship throughout the whole.
Yeah, they still try to put some awkward comedy into this.
Yeah. Well, this time it does actually feel awkward. Some of the comedy.
No, it does. It really. Yeah, it's like that's the whole thing surrounding the car. Just it's like why, guys? You know, Taylor likes the family station wagon. He says it's not a happy car, and you know, and it's always breaking down on Steve. And he well, don't make it make it a happy car. Or I don't, it's just like, yeah, there was that running gag that just it was sort of like why are we doing this? Why?
Because we need a really funny moment at the very end of the film after everything's returned back.
Yeah, I think that's it. They just set up that one final moment, and how you got there doesn't matter. Just make sure you cover it.
Yeah,
because it does feel like something, just a throw in. It really does.
It does, and the other thing that struck me about this film are all the what was called jump scares. The first film didn't really have jump scares, and there are a lot of jump scares in this movie.
God, yes,
designed for the audience's enjoyment or thereof, and they're not things that characters in the film are ever aware of, which is how I define a jump scare. It's designed to make the audience jump and not so much characters.
Yeah.
There are a lot of that in this movie. You see the skeletons and the mirror sequences and other type of stuff that's designed.
Right. And normally these could be very, very effective scenes. And what Tobe Hooper did in the first film, when he did subject us to a couple of things like that, were very effective. Mm-hmm. These almost feel like they were manufactured for that reason, uh, with no deference to the storyline at
Yeah.
all.
No.
I mean, no, it's like, the one thing of, I'm a guy and I like female nudity is like the next guy. But when you just throw an obligatory scene in a movie and it stands out, I don't care for it. I just, make it, if it's part of the story, fine. I hate to make that analogy, but it's the same thing here. It's like a jump scare just to throw in there for the sake of having a jump scare really sort of stands out to me in a movie. Maybe some people like that, but
Well,
when that happens, it's like, okay, you just put that in there to try to get me to jump,
well,
right?
I also
Okay.
think that some of the horror scenes are not so horrifying. I mean,
No, not at all.
Robbie and his braces coming to life.
Oh
Just
my God. Well, it was going to be bees. Originally, it was going to be bees, but
really.
Oliver Robbins, who plays Robbie, is terrified of bees.
Oh.
So they said, okay, well, we better not do that. We'll have to come up with something else. And, oh, he's wearing braces. Okay, so we'll do that. We'll have the braces come alive and attack him.
Well,
But that was clever, in one way. And I'm glad they didn't torture the poor kid, by having to subject him to something he's terrified of. I can
well,
relate to that. It's like I'm terrified of spiders, and if I had to do a scene with spiders, I'd just quit the movie. I mean, seriously. I mean, I'm that frightened of them. But they're just some of these things didn't work.
well, the reason why I bring that up is because the one aspect of this film that I did like, but I wish they'd gone more into, but they didn't, is the body horror aspects of the film, which are not in the first Poltergeist.
Yeah, yeah,
Stuff like the Robbie's braces, and of course, the next one would be Kane possessing Stephen, and then Stephen
yeah.
throwing up the Kane creature.
Right, right.
And those type of aspects are in this film. I really like the body horror type of aspects in there.
Yeah, no. If you can weave that into a believable story, I think you got something going there.
Yeah,
Yeah, the whole concept of the worm in the tequila getting possessed, which I thought was sort of cute. It's like, okay, I know where this is going, but he's going to swallow the worm, and he does. And then I thought, okay, I sort of get a kick out of that. But it was just done so awkwardly. It was like, oh man.
when I was a kid, I liked that sequence. I did.
I can see it. Yeah.
When I rewatched it, I thought it was odd because the creature that it eventually morphs into, you don't really see you don't see it clearly when they try to show the whole thing.
No, no.
And so it seems weird. It seems like an odd thing. I wish and this is because it was the 80s. If it had been a David Cronenberg film, he would show the whole damn thing and I would have been satisfied.
First movie also used H.R. Giger for their monsters.
Yeah, Poltergeist 2. Thank you.
And even though H.R. said at the end, he said he wished he'd been around more because he thought he could have done better than the way they utilized some of his creatures. Just he was disappointed, but they needed him on this one if they were going to make some creatures because the man is so good at doing that.
Yeah, and that's the most memorable things about this is some of the creatures.
Yeah.
So, but you don't have in the other film. I mean, the Kane. I mean, note of it that the Kane illusion creature that they show.
Yes. Yeah.
All of these, the H.R. Giger's designs in these things. When you do see them, you wish you'd seen them more.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love his work.
Yeah. And if they had leaned more into that with all other aspects of the film, I think it would have been a much more cohesive film. But I think, like you say, there's like bits and pieces of this film that are good. And there are that are just really odd or weird.
Well, I was just thinking, people out there listening to me might say, okay, Jim, well, if you could do it so much better, what would you do? Okay, I'm going to tell you. Okay. No, I mean, as I was watching it this time around, and I was thinking, the story's not working. So how do we make this story work? I have no problems with the darkness that we're subjected to early on in this film, but this family is still got some serious problems going on. Okay, so you got them leaving. You know, the house has been swallowed up. The insurance company's not going to cover it because because of the circumstances or whatever. They're coming up with all kinds of excuses. Let's forget about the cave thing and the whole Kane thing and all that stuff. What if you write a story where all of this negativity that Steve is going through, he's almost drawing it to himself, and he just bring in a whole new host of spirits that are being drawn to that situation, you know. So yeah, you're not surrounding Carol Ann as much in the movie, but I think the story then becomes a little more. It connects up with the first one better, or something along those. That's how I would have written the story. You know, gone from that point of view or whatever. If you're going to have Steve be this, you know, on the downside and, you know, broke and homeless and trying to take care of his family, not knowing which way to turn or whatever, and even more of a more psychological approach, which I think works. But this movie just doesn't ever seem to know what it wants to do. That's the part that really just bugs me the most about it.
Well, yeah. Plus, you know, you have the sequence where before her mother dies, Diana has this whole thing where she can't remember certain details from what happened when at the house.
Yeah.
And
that
was an odd choice. I was like, it's only been a year.
The mother's death is an odd choice. I mean, it's like that. Where did that come from?
You know, and because she at the end needs to be someone from the spirit realm.
I know, that's it. I mean, but it's like, okay, it's almost like they wrote the ending first, and then they said, now we'll go back and figure out how we're going to get there.
Yeah, because the mother coming back when she should, she should not be someone who doesn't go into the light when it
right.
You know, you kind of get that when she calls Carol Ann through the phone, that you think, oh, she's making her last goodbye right there to her granddaughter. And so when she just shows up at the very end to save the whole family, it's kind of that's kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, it's just too convenient.
It's too convenient. And while we're mentioning that end sequence, anyways, I hated it now. I hated it then. I hated it now. The whole
it doesn't. You know, I've said this about more monster movies or sci-fis or whatever. You know, all these movies set you up for a big climax at the end. A lot of movies do. It doesn't matter what genre you're in. And you better deliver. And this one does not deliver.
It's so short.
It is. Well, it's like 2 minutes long.
Yeah,
we went all through this just for this little 2 minute.
Yeah,
cheap special effects extravaganza.
Robbie and Steve jump into the fire to go save Carol Ann and Diane, and they go into this netherworld. Where they float everywhere. They get a hold of Carol Ann and Diane, and then Kane shows up.
Yep.
And then, you know, Taylor gives, you know, Steve the lance.
Here's a spear
to throw at him, and then he's vanquished.
Yeah.
And that was it. And I was like, oh.
No, it's not a satisfying ending at all.
Yeah, it's not. And you know, the impact, you know, causes Carol Ann to float away.
I know. It's it was just so contrived. I wish, you know, why couldn't they have gone and gotten the writers that Steve Spielberg used for the first one?
I would have suggested that too, and I don't know. I have to look it up if Spielberg produced this as well. I would assume he would.
No, it was produced by Michael Grace and Mark Victor, who also were the writers.
So what could have possibly happened with this film, because this doesn't happen to any of
Spielberg. Yeah, this was based on characters by Steven Spielberg.
So, you know, that doesn't happen nowadays with Spielberg. Spielberg produces all the sequels to any of his movies now.
Yeah.
This could have been a bad experience that he just never wanted to experience again when the studio comes in and says, we're making a sequel, but we don't need you, Spielberg, anymore. Even though you produced the first one, we can just do it our own. And that's essentially what happens. You know, Spielberg's still making a mint off of the freaking Jurassic World, Jurassic Park, Jurassic whatever movie.
Yeah. That's right. Well, yeah, and that may have figured into it because at this time he would have been working on Jurassic Park.
So this
I know this. No, this might
no,
be a little early for
yeah,
Jurassic
it's
Park.
be early.
This is 86, so that's still 7 years away.
He could
I
have
think
been
what he
doing.
was working on.
He came out with a new movie every year. It could have been all.
Oh, I know. So he was working on something. Yeah.
You know, there was it could have been Empire of the Sun. It could have been anything. He was the heck. We can't keep.
That's true. Yeah, the 80s he owned. He owned the 80s and most of the 90s.
Yeah, he owned those. But the thing is, unlike his other franchises that he kept a hand in, this one veered to other people's hands.
Yeah,
and that's a sad thing because he would have been able to bring in, continue at least the quality in consistency from the first film with the family.
Yeah, the elements that made the first ones so good just aren't here. It's lacking here, and that's I just really can't decide what kind of a movie this is.
Now, I will say this.
Well, the few times I agreed with the critics.
Well, like I said, the one thing I will agree with is in the 80s when I saw this movie, I didn't think it was a bad movie. I didn't think it was a good movie.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I didn't think it was a bad movie either. It was just, I don't know.
It's one of those films where, it wasn't like watching Children of the Corn 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's good way to put it.
It was more like watching Children of the Corn 2, which has its problems, but it's still entertaining. And that's the thing with this movie and this franchise as a whole is there is a sense of diminishing returns, but they have little quirks, little pieces that that elevate them above being just your run of the mill Z grade horror film.
I think to sort of sum up with a lot of what a lot of the critics hinted at, and I tend to agree with them on this one, and people who know me know that I don't agree with the critics on a lot of things, was that if you're watching a sequel and you can't figure out why are they making this movie, other than to just try to cash in on a financial extravaganza from the first one, then don't make it, because that's what it felt like. It felt like we're just simply making this movie to cash in on the first one.
Yeah.
That's really seemed to be the whole motive for making this particular film.
Yeah, and they decided to make
they did make a profit. The worst thing could have happened was they did make a pretty good profit on it. Not as much, but so that led to number 3.
Yeah, which had a ton of its own issues and problems.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, we'll talk about that on the Poltergeist 3
episode.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing is that when we're talking about these films, and there are a lot of people who have probably never, ever bothered with this second film, whereas I guarantee you there's a ton of people who have seen it, and they're like me, they haven't, and you who have not watched it in 3 decades.
Yeah, I just had no interest in watching, unless I needed to watch it for a reason, and I had a reason, and that was this podcast.
The thing is, the elements of the film I did like.
Okay, yeah, there's some good elements about it, yeah.
I mean, I like the designs, what I could see of H.R. Giger's designs, and I knew what a lot of them were because I'm a huge Giger fan, and so I've seen a lot of stuff that he did for the film, but I didn't see them when I rewatched them, so much of it was not on the screen.
Right.
Long enough to watch them. But I still love the score. I fucking love the score for the movie. Goldsmith's score is amazing. And I actually like the guy who played Kane. You said his name, but I actually like the guy.
Julian Beck. Yeah, no, he was great.
But he stands out above and beyond all the other characters in the film. Taylor is interesting, but I think because they play him so comedic with every scene he's with Craig T. Nelson, I think it diminishes his character.
It does. And the other thing that hurts, and this is something that Zelda Rubinstein complained about, was there are 2 scenes where she confronts Kane during this movie. One where he shows up at their house. She has a confrontation scene with him there. was supposed to. They cut it from the
Yeah.
film, and the other one was involved a scene where Diane and Steve are eating breakfast, and a toaster goes crazy. We've got sort of a takeoff on what we saw in Carol Ann's bedroom in the first movie, and once again, Tangina shows up and has a confrontation with Kane again. We don't have any of those conversations. She never confronts Kane or even
Not in this version, no.
sees him at all in the movie at all, and that was something that really disturbed her because she said that was her best work in the whole movie was that stuff, and they cut it out. I mean, we just basically see her to introduce Taylor, and one time where she shows up at the house at the end, you know, to help the family out, and that's it. Yes. And it's, you know, that, and then we've got this 2-minute climactic scene at the end that just doesn't deliver at all.
No. I like I said, when I was a kid, I didn't mind any of those aspects of it because, you know, they were different.
I don't know. As a kid, it's a total different perspective. Yeah,
80s were different. The 80s
they were. They did do that. That's for sure.
And I think that's one of the aspects that would make this movie so popular back in the 80s, which would destroy it if it was released now.
Oh yeah.
And that's and we growing up in the 80s, we had a shit ton of horror movies to pick from.
You got that right.
The 80s were like the heyday of horror for every type of genre from different countries all over. The 80s were it.
It kept Blockbuster in business for a couple of decades.
So the fact that this movie made a lot of money, turned a profit, and allowed them to make a third film is commendable. Despite the diminishing returns. And unfortunately, that's how they did with sequels, even in the 40s, 30s, and 40s when they did sequels to Creature Black Lagoon and Dracula and The Mummy, diminishing returns with each sequel that came out. We get that here.
But, you know, even with like those Mummy pictures, which I loved as a kid, I ate them up. Yeah. They still had a connection to the one before them, as goofy as it might have been.
I like the way you
like the Mummy went from like a lake in New England to a swamp in Louisiana in one film, you know, with no explanation. They just magically appeared there, which I find charming now. I just get a big kick out of it. But this film was trying to do it and take it seriously, and it's like, no, guys, it's. You know, we need some continuity here that makes some sense, you know.
Oh, Jesus. Well, we can't always have all of our horror films make sense. Hell, try and...
Well, yeah, but I mean, you know, again, your audience, you've got this huge audience coming off of the success of Poltergeist. They're going to come see this movie just because it's got the name Poltergeist in it.
Yeah.
So you better give them something.
Well, the other thing is that you also, with this film and audiences going in to see this, also, we're not going in to see a movie where all the characters die and get killed off by Poltergeist either.
That's right.
Pretty sure that from the beginning, by the ending, it was going to be a happy ending. Like this was the very first film. The thing that this film gets right is the whole family aspect. I mean, they had some great elements of a good story in here. Just it was execution, I guess. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the word I'm looking for. No, I think you're right. I think it's execution. I think the final product was marred by editing choices. You know, I guarantee you that the first cut of this movie was probably over 2 hours long, and they're trying to trim it down. And the studio interference makes them trim it down some more.
Yeah, I think actually it was. I think it was like 2 hours and 13 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, I can imagine that with all the stuff that's been cut.
Yeah, and they had to cut a bunch out.
Unfortunately, it probably has all been permanently destroyed, all the stuff that was cut.
That's usually what happens, yeah.
In the 80s, and I know.
They don't save anything. But yeah, it's just, you know, if I'm going to make another analogy, I'm a huge fan of the Superman franchise from this time period, the Chris Reeve franchise. And I was so excited when they made a third one. And there's nothing wrong with the third one per se. but you could see a whole bunch of scenes put together that just didn't work with one another. So, I mean, I still watch it. I've watched it several times. But yeah, it doesn't work as well as the first couple did. The first couple of movies did. Nothing wrong with it. The acting was all good and all that stuff, but the scenes just somehow didn't click together. And that's what I get when I watch this.
Oh, no, that's a great analogy.
It was just sort of, why did you make it like this, guys? It's just not working right. Did your test audiences not let you know that this ain't cutting it? That's what really surprises me. That, you know, did they test this one out, or maybe they just released it? Who knows?
You know what? It'd be interesting to go back and or listen if there are any documentaries, behind the scenes documentaries, commentaries.
Yeah.
I know that there's someone, I can't remember which company did an excellent Blu-ray upgrade for this film, and the third one. I don't own those. I have just a standard DVD version.
Yeah.
Maybe want to go out and see if they have some special features to be able to see some of that, because like the third film, this film has some issues that I would love to know why it has the issues.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole thing about the curse thing was going around back then for this production. Will Sampson, who is a medicine man, or was, I should say, God rest his soul. He was a medicine man, and he went in and did a lot of the stuff for real on the set that he did in the movie. You know, cleansing the set and all of that. They made it so he could get into the sound stages after hours and do his thing, because it's best done at night or whatever. So he did do all of that, you know, to try to ward off some kind of curse, you know, keep whatever perceived curse was going on. But I don't know, you know, something didn't work.
That's our assessment for part two.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm trying to be nice here.
We're like,
I don't want to be like, you know, I don't want to throw these guys under the bus. It's just like, guys, it just didn't work. You know, it just didn't work.
And that's the thing, is we see this on hindsight now. You know, in the 80s, the 80s audience laughed at this stuff, whereas now when we watch it now, having seen it back then as well, we kind of take a look at it and says, it's something wrong with it. It's just
if you're watching a movie and you constantly keep hearing the word why, then you know you've got an issue going on.
Yeah.
That's what I found myself doing every time I watch this movie.
Well, let's hope that you don't have to watch it again anytime soon, having watched it now for this podcast.
No, I've got to prepare myself for part 3, which has some issues as well. But
the funny thing about part 3 is,
but it's also got some very good things about it too.
I've seen that one more than I've seen.
I have too.
The second one, I really like the cast for the second one. Tom Skerritt and Nancy.
Very much so. It's a great cast.
What's her fucking name? Oh my God,
Nancy Allen.
Thank you, Nancy Allen. I knew who all these actors were when I watched this movie, and I was like, oh yeah.
I happen to be madly in love with Nancy Allen. Oh wait, well, of course I'm madly in love with virtually every co-star female that I've ever watched. So, no, yeah, Nancy Allen. Oh man, but they had a great chemistry. She and Tom Skerritt had a great chemistry.
Yeah, well, in my opinion, Tom Skerritt has a great chemistry with most of the cast he works with. I think he'd be a great actor who loves to work with lots of different people.
Absolutely.
I've watched him, and it just seems like he has a natural chemistry with
him. He's just he's an extremely likable character actor.
Yeah. So. Any final words about Poltergeist 2, The Other Side?
In all honesty, this is one that I wish someone would go back and remake. Maybe, but then again, you know, we've already got a reboot of Poltergeist, which we'll be talking about down the road here. So I don't know if there are plans to make a sequel to that one or not.
I don't think it did very well.
And it's a shame, because I sort of like that one. remember liking that one. But I think there were some ideas here that, God, I wish you could go back and do a redo on this one, because I think they had an interesting idea. They just didn't know what to do with it. That's the best way I can sum it up. Just
no, that's fine. I actually, if people, filmmakers, film studios would allow a seasoned horror director or director in general to come in and do a remake of a sequel rather than trying to remake the original film of a lot of different films and franchises.
Yeah,
I think that would be a very interesting concept, but that's not what ever happens. You do a remake of the first film, and then you go and do a sequel if the first film is successful. That's why we've never seen a remake of Halloween: Season of the Witch. No one wants and remake that, although that could be an amazing remake.
There's a lot you could do with that one.
And just not call
And again, we both agree that's like my favorite Halloween film, apart from the first one. I mean, the first one just stands alone as so unique, but the third one was just so good.
Yeah. I mean, even if someone was to try and hazard doing a Phantasm remake, you could do Phantasm 2 as a remake movie and skip the first one.
True.
And do a really interesting film so you don't have to show the main character as a kid.
Yeah.
I think I think the only reason why the Phantasm film works is because, he kind of, Don Coscarelli was brilliant at keeping the same actors in everything he ever did.
Yeah, that's true.
With the exception of Phantasm 2, he was really good at keeping his little cast together.
That's right. Yeah, he had a nice little ensemble going there.
And I also wish that people would not be afraid to do sequels of remakes or reboots that were not successful.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that's a studio
Well,
thing.
that's the thing. Yeah, when it's all dictated by money, then you never know what you're going to get.
Exactly.
That's the bad part,
Well, the thing is, when you watch a Friday the 13th film, they weren't all successful, but they still kept making sequels.
Yeah. Well, they just kept using the same script over and over again, basically. I mean, I'll never forget. My nephew grew up on Friday the 13th films, and of course, he was staying with me for a long time. And I remember he came bebopping in one afternoon. He had a VHS tape that he'd gotten at Blockbuster for the weekend, and it was Friday the 13th, Part 8, and which was supposed to be near the end. It was near the end of the run of the franchise, and we're sitting down and watching it, and I'm saying, yeah, okay, I guess this is going to happen. This is going to happen. He goes, "You've already seen this movie, haven't you?" And I said, "No, but I've seen all the others." Pretty much just following the same formula the other ones followed.
Oh my god!
That's unfortunate, with some of those, they just went over it. But if people are going to pay to see it again, why not?
Yeah, and Part 8 wasn't successful, but yet we still got Jason Goes to Hell after that, and then we got Jason X after that.
I liked Jason X though, only because I was in love with the robot. She was just. Oh my God!
Jason X. I don't care what anyone says. That's one of the most fun sequels.
It was a blast, and I kid and said, I want that robot. If she doesn't have anybody, she can come visit me. I was, wow, I was blown away by her. That was just such a fun. I bet you that actress had such a fun time doing that role.
And that is how we work it here at Conversations in Horror.
That's right.
We diverged from Poltergeist 2 to Jason X.
To movies we really enjoy. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes. Guys, I'm sorry. I just cannot say this is a bad movie. But give it a shot. I never would say don't ever go see a movie. Any particular, well, there's one in particular I'm not even going to mention.
Well,
but I don't know. This one just doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work as much as we want it to work. But
yeah,
as a franchise, I believe that you can watch all three of the movies in this original franchise and follow a through line despite its holes and its inconsistencies.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I want to have my time reimbursed, for watching this movie.
No.
So, and some films that I've watched, I do feel that. I wish I could have my time back. But
Yeah.
this was not one of them. But it was frustrating. It was just frustrating. I felt bad for the filmmakers because it's like, oh man, guys, I think I know what you were trying to do, but. Yeah.
Well, that's why I think I need to watch, if there is one, a behind the scenes documentary in this one. I would really love to know what happened with this film, or go back and read some articles that were featured on this film. I don't think I've read.
I agree. Yeah, I agree on that.
So, with that, Jim, we have to rate this movie because that's what we do now. On our scale between 1 and 5, 1 being very bad, 5 being excellent movie, where on the spectrum of goodness do you place Poltergeist?
I'm going to have to give it a 2. Because the performances are quite good in this, but it's just I think the material they were given was not very good.
Okay. I was thinking about 2 myself, mostly because I really still love the score. I do like the actor who played Kane, and the look.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. No argument with the acting.
No, and then the look with the H.R. Giger stuff actually is commendable, and I wish I'd been able to see all of it, not just some of it. I still don't like the ending of this movie. I think it's too short.
No, the ending does not work. The ending really kills this movie.
It really does. But other than that, I would give it a 2. Now, on the in the franchise itself, I haven't seen this one as much as I've seen the third one. So, and I've only saw the remake once. But as a franchise,
I've only seen it one time.
Yeah. As a franchise, I do think that this franchise is one that could be revisited. And I think that whoever attempts it again should not feel to be so hampered by the original story, all of the aspects of it. Because I think the problem with me in the remake is that it tried to be like part Amityville horror, part Poltergeist. And you just need to kind of create your own thing. I'd like to see someone do like what they did with the remake of Suspiria. Take the kind of the guidelines of it, but
yeah. I like that. Good observation.
Yeah, I think that's what would make this work for a new audience, because there's a lot of different things you can do with the concept of Poltergeist.
Yes.
So
and especially now that you've got all these TV shows, with all these ghost hunter shows.
Yep.
Back when this came out, that was sort of an oddity. People, but people are more into that now. So it opens up some more doors for you.
So, with that, I want to thank you, Jim, for joining us on this conversation of horror about Poltergeist 2, The Other Side, part of the Poltergeist franchise and legacy. From all of us here at Something Wicked Entertainment, I wish you all a great day. Make sure to check out the podcast on your favorite apps. Spotify, YouTube, do that thing you do when you like, share, and follow. Make sure you check out all the other amazing episodes we're going to have this month regarding franchises, because this is something new that we're doing. Make sure to check out our previous episodes, because we've done a lot of great horror films that we hope that you will enjoy. And also, we hope that if you subscribe and follow and like what you see here, you'll be able to keep up to date on what we have coming up for you for the rest of the year, because we have a lot of great titles that we have in store. That being said, make sure to leave us comments about the episode, especially regarding whether or not there are some films out there that you have not seen us talk about that you would love to see us talk about, because that's what we like to do. With that, we want to thank you for joining us in Conversation in Horror, the podcast. From all of us here at Something Wicked Entertainment, have a pleasant day. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers, executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.